Ladies and gentlemen, we start off today with someone who barely needs an introduction. America's premier education historian and author, an inspiration to all of us. You know her. Welcome to the stage, Dr. Diane Ravitch.
Thank you, and good morning or good afternoon, whatever it is. Both. I saw a tweet last night. It says the NRA has a new symbol. It's called No Lives Matter. Well, we're here today because we are here to resist the corporate assault on our public schools. The politicians starve our schools of resources, and then they say they're failing. They're willing to spend billions to build new prisons, but not a penny more for education. That's wrong. Our schools are not failing. Our society is failing our children and our schools. Our society is failing to assure that each child gets the care, the nutrition, the security, the love, and the education that it needs to grow and thrive. The reformers say the money's all gone. We can't afford to pay for good schools in big cities, but there's always enough money for a new weapon system, for more testing, or for a new stadium. The schools do their best under difficult circumstances. They're struggling, but they are not failing. The reformers are failing. Every idea, every policy they have promoted has already failed, but they never admit failure. There is no other word to describe 15 years of fruitless disruption by reformers. Charter schools have not succeeded, as promised, although they do succeed in making money for a lot of people. The charter industry is driven by entrepreneurs, profit seekers, and fly-by-night operators. Billions have been wasted on charters that either failed or never opened. The charter sector has been marred by scandals, by financial scandals, by academic scandals. Charters cultivate the belief that parents should shop for schools and instead of investing their energy in their local public school. I'll let this pass. We are at risk. We are at risk of creating a dual school system. It's as if we're going back pre-1954, creating a dual school system, both publicly funded, one of them free to choose its students, and the other required to take everyone. One deregulated and the other tightly regulated. Well, if deregulation is so good, why not deregulate all schools? Charters have paved the way for vouchers, which have been a huge step backward in our society. Most of the voucher money is going to fundamentalist schools where children are taught to obey and learn creation science. That is not a preparation for the 21st century. The practice of evaluating teachers by the test scores of their students, called VAM, has been a disaster. Thousands of educators have been fired based on this inaccurate measure. Despite billions squandered by the U.S. Department of Education and the Gates Foundation, VAM has failed everywhere. A New York judge ruled VAM arbitrary and capricious after one of the state's best teachers was called ineffective. Common Core has failed. When children are hungry, sick, and homeless, high standards don't help them. They need more than standards. Common Core is actually widening the achievement gaps among children. Teach for America started in 1990, promising that the best and brightest were here to save the schools, close the gaps, and put an excellent teacher in every classroom. Well, 25 years later, there's no evidence that TFA has met any of its goals. The kids don't stay in the classroom long enough to make a difference. There has been failure after failure within the reform movement. The Achievement School District in Tennessee promised to take the lowest 5% of schools and raise them into the top 25% of schools in the state in only 5 years. Well, 4 years have passed, and the schools they started with are in the bottom 5% still. But Georgia and North Carolina based on the failure of Tennessee, wants to do exactly the same thing. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? So where are the stars of yesteryear, the reform stars that we spoke of when we met in 2011? Michelle Rhee has gone into quiet seclusion.
Yeah, thank God.
She became chancellor 10 years ago. She was succeeded by her deputy, Kaya Henderson, who's retiring this fall. 10 years of reform, and what do they have to show for it? A great deal of teacher churn, principal churn, and in terms of the achievement gaps, the largest achievement gaps between black and white, Hispanic and white students of any big city in the country. So much for reform. Arnie Duncan is gone. Yay! Joel Klein has disappeared. Joel Klein left the chancellorship of New York, berating teachers as he left, collecting a pension as he left. And then he started a technology company and brought it to Rupert Murdoch. After Rupert Murdoch lost $500 million, he decided to cut Joel Klein loose. Joel Klein is now working for an online healthcare provider. So now he can berate nurses instead of teachers. Yeah. Cammie Anderson has gone from Newark. Deborah Gist is gone from Rhode Island. Janet Barresi is gone from Oklahoma. Jeb Bush ran as an education reformer, and he's gone too. Gone, gone, gone. They're all gone, and we are still here. Are there teachers in the audience? Yes. You didn't quit. You're here every day. You're here for your kids. You'll be in school in September taking care of your children, and the reformers are off to greener pastures or no pastures at all. We have the bats. The bats are those courageous teachers who say we are fed up and we're not going to take it anymore, and we're going to stand together and be courageous. And thank God for the bats. We have high school student unions across the country. The Newark Student Union. Pass by. Okay. The Newark Student Union drove the school's chancellor out of the district. 8 kids, and they sat in her office and wouldn't leave until she promised to meet with them, and she left. We have the opt-out movement. Tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of parents and educators standing together and saying, this testing makes no sense. Let the teachers write the test, not the corporations. The opt-out movement changed the face of New York State. Because of the opt-out movement, Governor Cuomo has gone silent in his attack on teachers in public schools. And we have new leadership in our Board of Regents, an educator who was actively supported by the opt-out parents. And we have the Network for Public Education. We're here fighting for you every day. We have students, we have parents, we have educators. There are millions of us. We don't have the millions of dollars, they do, but our ideas are good ideas based on research, good for children, child-centered. Their ideas are bad for kids, bad for communities, bad for families. They destroy communities. You only have to look at Highland Park, Michigan, which has been destroyed by reform, or Detroit. And for that matter, New Orleans. New Orleans is still the lowest performing district in the state of Louisiana, and yet it's pointed to by the reformers as their proof point. The corporate reformers think that disruption is good, but disruption is not good for children. Disruption is not good for schools. The corporate reformers think that choice will improve education, but it doesn't, and it hasn't. It turns parents into consumers, not citizens. It undermines any sense of responsibility for the common good, and it will not prevail. When the public schools are at risk, democracy is at risk. Our movement is growing. We are on the side of children. We are on the side of history, and we will prevail. Thank you.